Okay, so I'm not going to say too much. Patty is moderating, so I guess she should have the mic next. Or not, as the case may be.
Wait a minute. Wait a
There you
minute.
are. You're there. Go
I,
ahead.
I was just, I was sorry. I was making the announcement that you guys were, let's give it a few minutes and in case anybody else wants to come in and then we'll start.
Yeah, that's fine. No problem. Oh, actually, I need
Yeah, it
to.
better
Sorry,
be
I've.
fine. Get in your place,
Yeah.
Squid. I'm kidding.
Sorry, I've just unmuted Chaddie. Sorry, I forgot to do that initially.
All right.
So I mean, I don't particularly want to do like big long opening statements. You said in the other room just now you haven't like really got one either. That's fine. I'm fine with
No,
it
yeah,
just being a conversation basically.
Okay.
yeah.
Well,
I did zero preparation. Absolutely none.
That's all right.
yeah. Yeah, discussion. I'll just call this a discussion instead of a debate. Um, well, I guess you guys want to start? You guys want to? Okay, so all right, cool. So we have some for the new people in the room. Chaddiedaddie and SD would like to have a discussion, not necessarily a debate, but a discussion about on the topic of veganism. I don't believe they made any like specifics about veganism. They're just kind of talking about the ethics of veganism, it seems, instead of dietary, um, based on what I heard yesterday or 2 days ago, whenever. So this is between Chaddiedaddie and SD. Well, let's try to keep the interruptions from others to a minimum or none, or else you'll be muted and I will be moderating this discussion. So, who wants to go first, Chatty or SD?
I'd just like to say something about how this particular room that we're in operates. Everybody is muted upon join, right? They can't unmute themselves, so you'll have
Okay.
to manually unmute people. Even though this is my server, I'm not going to be using any kind of mod powers or whatever. We're just going to listen to what you have to say. If at the end there's some kind of Q&A, which sometimes happens, I'm not saying it will tonight, people will need to like post in either general chat or VC text or somewhere like that. And
Yeah,
in order to be able to speak, they need to be manually unmuted because they're instantly muted on join. So
yeah. If you would like to ask a question and you find yourself still muted, please. So in your question, tag me and let's put it in VC text so we don't overwhelm general chat. All right. So
I'm all
you
good with
guys,
that.
yeah, you guys go ahead.
All right. So I guess we're starting with the definition that we agreed upon before. Veganism is a philosophy and way of living which seeks to exclude, as far as possible and practicable, all forms of exploitation of and cruelty to animals for food, clothing, or any other purpose, and by extension promotes the development and use of animal-free alternatives for the benefit of animals, humans, and the environment. So I guess the first question that I would ask you is, would you agree with this if it were humans and not animals?
Sorry, would I agree with what you presented?
The
Essentially, the vegan
would
society
you be a
definition, right?
vegan with this definition, right? So would you believe in this philosophy that seeks to exclude exploitation and the whole thing? I don't want to say it again. Um, if it
Yeah,
if instead of
it's the vegan society definition. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, I put it in VC text again. I
Okay.
guess
Let
it's
me
already in
just
VC text if you scroll up, but
yeah. Let me just have a quick look. Just read this very quickly. I'm not going to read it out loud. Sure, if that's the definition you want to go with, fine.
okay.
I happen to think it's a very poor definition, but if that's the one that you're putting forward, sure, we can work with that.
Okay. Um, so I guess the question is, would you consider yourself a vegan? if it were humans and not animals in this definition.
So, like, you essentially want to do name the trait, yeah? I mean, this is where.
Oh well, not necessarily. I'm trying to find out what your issue with the definition is,
Oh,
because
okay. Well, I mean, like, I don't mind if somebody wants to go with that definition. It's fine. I just think you're going to run into pretty
okay,
big trouble fairly quick. Because, I mean, possible and practicable. I mean, practicable is going to be like a really big stumbling block for you, if that's what you want to go with.
why?
Well, because it could be possible to do something, but not practicable, and now you've allowed killing and eating animals straight away.
Well,
If it's not
actually,
practicable,
I think you might be missing the definition. Maybe you're thinking of the word practical, but
no,
practicable
I know what practicable means.
pretty much just means possible.
So possible and possible then.
I didn't say it was the
The
best
two words.
definition,
Well, it's the
but
one you put forward, right? So the two words, like possible and practicable, they wrote that for a reason. So the two words don't mean exactly the same thing.
okay.
So just
Maybe they
because
don't
something
mean the
is.
exact same thing.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
Okay. Oh, well, I guess we started talking at the same time, so it's like, but maybe they don't mean the exact same thing. I didn't say this was the best definition, but the word I just googled the word practicable, and the definition is pretty much just the same as possible. This
Then
is the definition Google gave me.
which possible would you like to take out? The first one or the second one? I mean, if they mean the same thing, then
Well,
like
you
you're
don't
gonna
have to
have to
take out
stick with
either.
possible.
If you think of it, I don't know if you've ever coded before, but like if you think of it as an if
Little bit.
statement, yeah, if you think of it as an if statement and you have the same boolean and an and, it's like, sure, it's redundant, but there's not anything wrong with that, other than it's just stupid because it's redundant.
Okay, so you're admitting that your definition is stupid.
Yeah, and redundant.
Okay, is that it? Like, are we done already before we even get started?
Well, I even if it's redundant, you still could believe in it, right? So
Okay.
even if it's not the best definition, and we took out the word practicable or possible,
Well, if you
it
take
would
out
mean the same
both.
thing, sure, but like that doesn't mean that it's
Well, no. If you take out, like, I mean, you've got sorry, what's the, like, dashes, or there's another term for what that is that escapes me right now.
hyphen.
Hyphens, yeah, sorry. If you take out what you've got between the hyphens, then it reads: veganism is a philosophy and way of living which seeks to exclude all forms of exploitation of and cruelty to, and so on and so forth.
Yes.
So, do you want to take out what's in what's in there?
No. Because
Okay, well, I mean,
I think that possible is important. That defining it as possible
right.
is important when we're saying this is what we want to get rid of all forms of exploitation possible,
Oh,
right?
no, hang on, because you've put in a different possible after what you've just taken out now. I wasn't expecting the conversation to go this way, but if you take out the as far as is possible and practicable, like, there's no point in you putting in another possible after that point, because you're just saying the same thing.
No, I said that I do not want to take out the possible and practicable from the definition.
Oh, maybe I misheard you then, because I thought you said you did, but that could just be
Oh,
my bad.
maybe I misspoke. I'm not gonna say
Okay,
whether
it's
or not
fine.
I did, but
All right, no problem. So you want to keep them in?
yes.
Right.
because I think that it's important to define it as possible, so that
Okay.
we're not living in fantasy land or whatever.
Oh, I'm definitely down with that. Um,
Okay.
so, like, where do you want to go from it? You want to keep in two possibles? No, you took out one possible. We're going with practicable. You took that out, so we've just got possible, right?
Well, okay. I'm saying that they're redundant. So I guess you could say that yeah, you're taking one out. But
Right. So we'll just say possible.
yeah. So
Okay.
I guess the question is, why would you not be a vegan, right? But I guess I don't want to just ask that. So I first want to ask, um, would you consider yourself a vegan with this definition if it were humans instead of animals?
I don't understand the purpose of the question, at least not at this point. Like your definition is just all over the place right now, and I don't know how we can possibly proceed when like you've butchered the definition that you yourself provided.
Well,
If you
I
want to
said that
redraft
possible and
it,
practicable are.
yeah.
I
So
don't think that I
we settled
changed
on
it at all.
possible.
I just said that practicable and possible are synonyms. So
Okay,
the
yeah, no,
definition is a little bit redundant, but I think you'll see that a lot of the time definitions are redundant. Like again, I just googled the definition of practicable, right?
hmm
And it said capable of being affected, done, or put into practice, feasible, right? This is
hmm
also a redundant definition because this is what the word feasible means. So they're saying
yeah. I mean, I
feasible
would.
and feasible, right?
Well, I mean, I take logical to be like, sorry, not logical. I take possible to be more of a logical thing. But I mean, we can park that if you want. But like, I don't understand how we're supposed to debate under the definition that you gave when you yourself don't actually agree with it. That seems a bit
Well, I didn't say I didn't
confusing.
agree with it. I said it was redundant. So I think this is important to say that just because something is redundant doesn't make it wrong or disagreeable. Like, again, I'm going to say my practicable definition is also redundant. They could have just said the word feasible, and that would have been
hmm
accurate. Or they could have just said capable of being affected, done, or put into practice. That would be a definition, but they put both. So it is redundant in that sense. That doesn't mean that it's wrong, right?
Sure, it doesn't mean that it's wrong, but I don't understand how I'm supposed to engage with it if you're not affirming the definition that you provided.
Well, how do you say affirm? I mean, sorry, how do you mean affirm? Because I would, if
Well,
this is the
it's
definition,
what
I would
you
consider
gave.
myself a vegan, even if it's redundant, because it uses the same word, or sorry, it uses two synonyms and puts an and between. But if you really
Okay, I don't want to
don't like it,
squibble this much about the definition. I mean, I've read the Vegan Society definition like 5 million times before. But
so
why don't you tell me
how about
why
this?
you're a vegan?
Why am I a vegan?
Yeah, I mean, let's
Because
start there, right? Let's stop squibbling over the definition. I mean, I don't like your reframing of it, but I didn't like it as original anyway, so let's just forget about that. And why don't you explain why you're a vegan?
I'm a vegan because I'm against cruelty to animals. Or, okay,
So am I.
maybe more fundamental, I am against animal suffering. I think that
Me
animal
too.
suffering is wrong
I
or bad.
couldn't agree more.
Okay, so next, exploitation of animals causes animal suffering.
Yep, I'll grant that.
Okay, and cruelty to animals causes suffering. for animals.
Obviously, sure, granted.
Okay, so now we have this definition where it says it seeks to exclude, uh, as far as is practicable, all forms of exploitation and cruelty to animals, basically.
Okay, that's what you do, is it?
Yes,
Really?
I try to avoid cruelty to animals.
Me too.
Or, sorry, suffering to animals. Okay,
Absolutely, me too. So I'm not sure
then,
what we're supposed to be disagreeing on.
so you said you would not consider yourself a vegan with this definition.
Well, I wouldn't consider myself a vegan at all because I eat meat every day. But that doesn't mean that I can't agree with what you just said.
Okay, but this definition of vegan does not include meat eating in any way.
No, it doesn't include going to the moon either. Like, what's your
Okay,
point?
so exactly. So you could say you wouldn't be able to say I'm not a vegan because I go to the moon, right? In the same way you wouldn't be able to say if we're going by this definition, you wouldn't be able to say I'm not a vegan because I eat meat because
No,
it's not included in the definition.
I disagree with the way you just framed it. I mean, like, do you think that most vegans would agree that somebody who is eating meat every single day and who kills animals on purpose deliberately is vegan?
No. No, I don't think most
Right.
vegans would agree. But
Well, do
we're
you
going by
agree?
this definition, not I think that this is the definition that I like. Okay. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that someone who kills animals can be vegan because if the way I like to see it is a vegan is someone who's against animal suffering or tries to uh, reduce animal suffering as far as is possible.
Okay, well, if that's how you're defining it, I'm vegan, and yet I eat meat every day. So now a vegan is someone who eats meat every day. That's included in veganism.
Someone who eats meat. Okay, can I ask you this?
I mean, it
Okay.
fits, right? That is compatible with what you just
Yes.
said.
Okay, it is compatible. But the next part of the definition is, and by extension, promotes the development and use of animal-free alternatives. And I think that this is important because in the modern age, most people who eat meat do not eat meat ethically, or they do not try to avoid animal suffering, right?
So it would be alternatives to what under this definition? Let me just scan it one more time quickly. For food, clothing, and any other purpose.
Yes. So promotes the second part of the definition is promotes the development and use of animal-free alternatives for the benefits of animals, humans, and the environment. Right.
Right?
So most people, or at least most people in the first world, eat factory farmed meat and use factory farmed leather and things like this, right?
I will just accept that that's
Or
true. I
most
have
most
to tell you
non-vegans.
I'm not one of those people, but
Okay, then I, then that's great. Okay, that's a good thing.
thank you.
But
But I'm not
we're
vegan.
saying okay. But by this definition, would you be vegan?
Well, I don't think so. I mean, do you?
I do. If you're against the exploitation and cruelty of or cruelty to animals, then
Hmm.
that's what this definition is.
Okay, well, under that, the definition that you just said vocally, I'm vegan.
Okay. So the next part is promotes the development of and use of animal-free alternatives because most people in the first world eat factory farmed meat. Would you say that factory farming is unethical?
Yes.
Okay. So would you say that
But
you would see it as a
keep in
good
mind,
thing?
though, I have already stated that I'm not somebody who eats factory farmed meat.
Okay, yeah, I know. I'm
Yeah.
not trying to
No, no, I
get you with a
just
gotcha.
like just trying to get you to keep it in mind. That's all.
Okay, yeah. So would you see it as a good thing if they made animal-free alternatives and people started using plant-based alternatives instead of factory-farmed meat and so on? Would
I
that be a good thing?
I wouldn't really have a very strong opinion on it. I mean, if you're going to do that, if you're going to push for those alternatives, and I think there are ways of doing that that are even being experimented on right now, but the problem is you still need various ingredients to make these alternatives. And or are you strictly talking about like DNA samples, like maybe we pick one cow hair off a cow and from that we can make infinite steak in a lab? Like, is that the kind of thing you're talking about?
Well, it says animal-free alternatives, right? So
So it
I
wouldn't
think
be the
that
latter then.
picking, I think that I personally would say I guess that is a good thing if we could pick a hair off a cow and then make steak. But
Yeah, I mean, maybe a hair just
usually,
falls off a cow that already exists. Let's say we don't have to pick it off and all that. Like, we just go to a field where there are already cows because these creatures already exist, and we find a hair, and from that we can make infinite, T-bone steaks for everybody in the world, and it's all really cheap and all that. Like, is that what you're asking me?
well, that would be good, but that's not what the definition is talking about, right?
Yeah, I know.
So
See,
when it
this is
says,
the issue. You're hopping back and forth between what you want to talk about and what the definition says. I'm
I
fine. I'm
I don't
fine with
think so.
either. I wish you'd just pick one.
I don't think so. When was I talking about what I want to talk about?
Just now, you said that it would be good if we could do the thing that I just suggested, which isn't
Well,
part of the
okay, yeah,
definition.
you're okay, but I think that it doesn't conflict with the definition because this is why I wanted to keep the word possible and practical in here
Right.
because it's not really possible that we can grab one hair off of a cow that fell off and then make infinite steaks, or at least right now it's not possible, right?
Okay. I mean, I don't know if that's possible or not, but whatever. Carry on.
So when it says animal free alternatives, it's talking about plants. So people should be for food, people should be eating uh, plant-based foods instead of meat. Not like, I mean, we can eat fake meat. That's fine, but it doesn't specify specifically like fake meat. When it says animal-free alternatives, it's
Okay.
basically saying that people should be um, using plants instead of animals, or something else instead of animals.
That's fine. That's fair. I'm happy to go with that. So, for all these plants that you want to grow and make these alternatives, I mean, like, I don't know, say, what's the Beyond Burger made out of?
Pea
I
protein.
Yeah, pea protein. I always get confused between the Beyond and the Impossible. Like, I think one is vegan, one isn't. Like, it,
No, they're both vegan.
are they both vegan? Okay, okay, fine. So they're made out of pea protein, apparently, and like probably have some other stuff in them as well, but that's fine. So all the vegetables, the vegetation is what I'm going to refer to it as. The plants, I guess, is a better word to use, that have to be grown for that. Are you fine with me killing the animals that would interfere with the crops and then eating them?
Um, I'm gonna say I would be fine with that. I don't
Okay.
see an issue with that. Um,
Oh, all right. Well, I don't know where we're going to disagree then, because that's what I do essentially. This is
okay,
why.
so I already knew that,
Sorry. Yeah,
right?
yeah. This is why I asked you to just like check out the things that I talk about. Like, not that I'm some famous person or whatever, but because like this is what I actually do. Like, the meat that I eat and I'm not trying to be a poet, like that's from pest control activities, right? So crops that are grown for human consumption, whether you like it or not, there are animals, I can name the animals if you want, I can describe what happens, that appear and they decimate the crops. I go out and do pest control over about 2,000 acres of land, which I don't own, but I have permission to, shoot over basically. And I eat those animals. So, I mean, like, is that like an issue for you, or?
Me? No, that's not an issue for me.
Okay, I don't think we're gonna be doing too much disagreeing then.
Okay, but you said that you would disagree with this, or maybe not you would disagree, but under this definition of veganism, that you would not be a vegan. Or maybe I'm misquoting you, and you can.
No,
You can
it's
tell me.
no, it's fine. I don't think you're doing anything dodgy. It's just that like I think it would be a bit weird for me to call myself a vegan, and I think most vegans would take issue with me calling myself a vegan. When the fact of the matter is, I go out and deliberately shoot animals in the head, peel their skin off, chop them up into bits, cook them up, and eat them. Like I think most vegans are going to be like, well, that's not vegan. Obviously, someone who has a deeper understanding, and maybe that's yourself as well. They're going to be like, okay, fine. Like I mean, we can go to roadkill arguments and all the rest of it. But I mean, if you don't take issue with that, it's fine because I like to debate the person that I'm actually debating and not like the rest of the internet that could possibly chip in, right? So
Yeah.
I mean, if you're okay with it, then I don't think we're having much of a disagreement.
Okay. Well, let's. Well, then maybe we can go a little bit farther. Would you say that it's unethical for other people to eat factory farmed meat
Um,
because you don't yourself?
well, I mean, like I substitute the word ethical for moral. I think the two are interchangeable. So
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, I think morality is subjective, but to not get too deep down that road. I mean, we can talk about it if you want to, but to say that it's wrong or whatever. I mean, I don't approve of the practices that are used in quote unquote factory farming. I think that's it's at best amoral and at worst outright fucking horrible. I don't agree with. I mean, I guess just a tiny bit of background. I promise I won't go on for too long. But I live very rural, right? I grew up working on farms and stuff like that, and some of them were big farms. Most of them were small farms. But I don't like this whole slaughterhouse lineup stuff. I think it's not something that I can argue against very hard. It's just something I personally dislike. So I guess that's the most I would say on that.
Okay. So I guess I don't want to like ad hominem you or anything, but I guess what's a little bit frustrating is that you're basically against the way that most people get their meat and animal products, but then um you'd argue for eating meat in general, right? Or maybe I'm
Well,
uh
it's not ad hom. First of all, it's fine what you
okay.
just said, but like ad hom would be a different thing. But
Well, basically I'm sort of attacking your character here, not your position, because I sort of agree with you that like shooting animals that show up on your
I don't
cropland
feel like you've
isn't
attacked
bad,
my
but
character. Like ad hom would be something like I don't like what you said and you're fat. Like that would be ad hom. It's something that's like it might even be true, but it's irrelevant to the argument and is also insulting. So I don't see that you've done that.
okay.
But like I don't get what the discrepancy is because we've agreed on most stuff so far. You don't have an issue with what I'm doing, right? So that allows me to eat, well, essentially as much meat as I want. And you don't have a problem with that. So obviously, I can't say that I'm vegan unless you want to include that under veganism, which I think is just bonkers. But you could do it if you wanted to. And the fact that I have an issue with factory farming practices, like I don't see a contradiction here.
So okay, yeah, there's no contradiction in like what you do versus saying factory farming is wrong. But I guess what I'm saying is that like maybe this is just the false impression that I got of you, right? But you sort of seem to be like arguing on the side of eating meat. When you would you say that most people should not be eating meat because they get it from factory farms or not?
Well, I guess to be fair to you, I mean, this is based on the conversation from the other night, and I DM'd you and said that it wasn't exactly my best performance, but
Oh yeah.
yeah, this is that's fine. But like, my position would be that, like, sorry, ask you a question again because I forget how you worded it exactly.
So, okay. I guess I guess like this is your Discord server. Maybe I'm getting the wrong impression of you, or maybe I'm conflating you
Oh,
with the other
I
people.
remember what you asked now, but sorry,
But
continue.
like it seems like you're arguing for eating meat when you're against the practices that most people use in order to get their meat. So it
Okay.
sounds like you're sort of like on my side as far as
No.
like being vegan, or that most people should not be eating meat like this,
So
right?
yeah, I understand. Sorry, I remembered what you asked halfway through. I just didn't want to chop you off. But I don't argue against veganism. I mean, if somebody wants to be, quote unquote vegan, whatever that involves for them, that's fine. That's none of my business. It doesn't affect my life. I don't care. But what I tend to do is pick up on topics that for some reason interest me. And I've been doing like the veganism topic for about, well, at least 4 years now. I mean, this Discord is at least 2 years old. It might even be a bit older. Um, I don't mind if you want to be vegan, you can carry on and do it. But what pisses me off is when vegans are not just coming in here, but like any other place they might occur, saying, "Oh, you're fucking immoral for eating meat." It's like, "Oh, really? Okay, well, what about this then?" And like you just did, you're like, "Oh, when you put it that way and when you put that situation forward, I don't have an issue with it." So, as far as I'm concerned, you're being perfectly reasonable. Um, I'm not trying to persuade a vegan, whether it's you or anybody else, to rush out and start eating meat.
Okay. Well, okay. So,
Also, I hate to be terribly rude. Somebody is hammering on my door. Can you excuse me for just 2 seconds?
oh yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Sorry about this. I'm so sorry about that. My bad.
All right, where were we?
We were talking about me saying that I'm not trying to persuade vegans to go and start eating meat,
Okay.
essentially.
Oh yeah. Okay. So yeah, you're not trying to persuade vegans to eat meat, but um to be fair, no one really does that. Or I don't want to say no one, but um people don't do that. But
Right,
what
because we
what
don't
is like
mind that vegans don't eat meat or animal
yeah, because
products.
no one minds that vegans don't eat meat, but I guess what vegans are trying to do is get rid of like this factory farming kind of practice. And maybe a lot of them also don't like what you do, and maybe that's like why you're sort of like against them, you know?
No, I'm not against
But
them. I've got lots of vegan friends. There's a couple of vegans in this chat at the moment.
okay.
Like
But
I don't know how you got there.
but um okay, maybe you're not against them. Maybe what I'm trying to say is more like you're you're okay with people who eat factory farmed meat. It's sort of like it's sort of like the issue that maybe I'm again wrong, okay? Maybe I'm wrong, but it seems like you're okay with people who eat factory farmed meat, even though you said yourself that you think you see this wrong. So, or maybe
Well, what
you're
what what
against.
what do you mean? Like, am I an activist against people who eat factory farmed meat? Is that what you mean? I'm trying to steal money, like man, honestly.
Okay, no, you're not. You're not an activist against people who eat factory farmed meat. But I guess maybe what you're doing here, like with your server, maybe I'm wrong, okay? But you're giving people who eat factory farmed meat like almost a reason to think that it's okay, right? Because
Why?
it's like, look, SD eats his meat and it's okay, so maybe I can eat my meat and it's okay, you
Oh, I
know?
mean, it would be up to people who think that to make those arguments, right? I mean, that's not an argument that I'm presenting.
Oh
I've I've
yeah,
I've,
of
I've
course
presented
not.
the opposite. I've said that I'm not okay with factory farming practices. But the thing is, like, even though we agree on that, that is never going to be an argument for veganism, at least on the definition that we're using, because as you've already, agreed with me on, I can eat meat. You even said that you're okay with what I do,
So,
and that I
well, yeah,
shouldn't
but
call myself vegan. So, I mean, if all you want me to say is that I'm anti-factory farming, I've said that 100 times before, and I'll happily say it again. I'm anti-factory farming.
so I don't. Well, actually, what I said is under this definition of vegan, you could be considered a vegan, right? At least
Well,
that's
yeah, but that's one of the problems with your definition. Unless you want to say that what I do is compatible with veganism, in which case you'd probably be better off taking that up with the vegans, because that's not something you and I are going to fall out about, but vegans will take issue with you on that. I know because I've been around a while.
so okay. I agree, but what I don't necessarily agree with is that um a
Imagine this,
philosophy
right?
is defined
Oh,
by the
sorry.
people. Yeah, what I don't necessarily agree with is that a philosophy is defined by the people who hold that view, or a view is defined by the people who hold that view. I don't necessarily agree with that. So
Well,
I
hold
think
on.
that
What
if we're going by this
what
definition,
else
just
would it be
because,
defined by? If it's not
okay, just
defined by the people who hold to it, I mean, like, where does it come from?
it comes from the definition of the view,
Yeah, but who
right?
who created that? People, right? Presumably.
Okay, well, okay. If you want to go like that, then yes. someone created the
Well,
definition,
I don't think I'm
right?
doing anything unfair. I mean, like, words only
Okay,
mean what people generally agree they
but
mean, so.
what I disagree with, right, is to say that because most vegans would disagree with you on this topic, then that isn't vegan, right? I don't think that that's fair because if we just go by the definition, that's not necessarily like what we see, right? At least that's what I think. So maybe you shouldn't call
I
yourself
don't quite
vegan.
understand that. Can you just, like, well, not repeat it, but maybe say it in a different way? Because I heard what you said, I just don't really get it.
Okay, let's say that let's say hypothetically that most vegans' favorite color was blue, okay,
All right.
and that um, if your favorite color was red, that a lot of vegans would say, well, you're not a real vegan because your favorite color isn't blue, which is the majority of us. But if you actually go by the definition, liking blue or red isn't actually anywhere in there, right? Would it be fair to consider yourself a vegan?
I think I understand what you're saying. I just don't think it's really analogous. Like, I'm trying to be as charitable as I possibly can be. Um, I don't get the analogy because I think what would happen, right? I mean, like, consider this. Like, this hasn't actually happened to me, but it's something that could conceivably happen to me, right? Let's say that I get some new next door neighbors, like a new family moves in next door to me, or whatever, and our paths cross, like, because we bump into each other, and somehow it comes into the conversation that I'm vegan, right, or that they're vegan, even it doesn't matter, because under the definition, like, well, you've said that I can call myself vegan, or you've at least alluded to it. So we're discussing about how amazing it is that we're both vegan families living next door to each other. And we go our separate ways. Later on that night, I'm walking out of the house with my rifle, and they ask me, they're like, "Oh, you going down to the like the target club to shoot paper targets?" I say, "No, I'm going out into the fields to shoot rabbits in the head." Do you not think that they're going to be a bit surprised and go, "Well, hang on, you told us you were fucking vegan"?
No, I think that that definitely could happen
Yeah, I
for
mean,
sure.
it's a possible scenario. It hasn't happened to me, but it's plausible, right? This could happen. And I would just imagine that if a vegan family, in this scenario plays out, and then it gets revealed that I'm going out to shoot rabbits in the head on purpose, not accidentally, it's on purpose, and then I'm bringing them home and chopping them up and eating them and all the rest of it, they're going to be like, "You lied, you're not vegan." Do you not think that most vegans would react that way?
No, I agree with you that most vegans would react that way. So
Okay.
so I guess there are two different things here, right? So the first one is, would it be fair to consider yourself a vegan, and should you,
I don't think it would. I
and then
would
the other one
never
is,
identify as vegan because I think it would be, well, just plain silly, to be honest.
and then the other question is, should you actually identify as vegan? Should you tell other people that you're vegan? And no, I don't think that you should tell other people that you're vegan, right? I don't think that because I think that most people might, the word has like maybe a connotation,
Yeah,
right?
it has
Something that
baggage.
it has baggage or whatever, right? Um,
I mean, maybe if it was you moving in next door to me and I explained this to you, okay, man, you seem like somebody, well, you already said as much, actually, that you wouldn't take issue with what I'm doing. But then, I mean, are you representative of, like, vegans as a whole, or even most vegans, the
no,
collective vegan opinions? I mean, like, I'm all for discussing what you think. That's fine by me because, like, it's you and I having the discussion. But I think if you're gonna like extrapolate it out to veganism more generally, I think I think you'd have some issue with vegans.
Okay. Well, yeah, I have issue with vegans, right? I have issue with any given group of people, but I would still consider myself a vegan, right?
Oh sure, yeah.
So like I guess another one. I don't want to totally get into this, but like let's say that I'm pro-choice, right? That
Uh-huh.
I think that abortion should be okay.
Yeah.
And I also noticed that like most people who are pro-choice um don't believe that like uh or maybe I'll say most people who are pro-choice, they have like dumb arguments and their conclusions are dumb, or that they think that um a, a fetus isn't a person until it's born or something. And like I say, wow, that's dumb, but I'm still pro-choice.
Hmm.
Would it be fair to call myself pro-choice just because I disagree with most people who are pro-choice? I would say yes, but maybe you would disagree.
Well, I mean, like you can like have your own specific like definition of what something means. I don't think there's such a thing as a right or wrong definition. I mean, I don't even really understand what it means for a definition to be wrong. Like it's like it's nice to stay in the realm of what words generally mean, so that we don't have to redefine the entire fucking dictionary and stuff. I'd agree with that. But if you have some specific set of what makes abortion wrong or not wrong, or like whatever the case may be, then it's just going to be how you personally define it.
Okay.
And
Yeah, I
that
mean
is
I agree.
a topic that I'm quite interested in. I actually have another server that's dedicated to that exact topic. But like you said, we don't want to get too far into that. So.
Okay, so yeah, I agree. So
So
yeah, I guess we don't disagree on very much.
doesn't seem like it. I mean, like, I just want to reiterate, like, I mean, I don't argue against people who aren't in the debate, right? And I'm not talking about the people listening in the room or whatever. Like, I engage with the person that I'm talking with and what their position is. And I think you've done the same thing. So, yeah, I mean, this has been, I mean, unless you have more to say, I think this has been a pretty good one.
Okay. Yeah, I
If,
guess
if
so.
if you do have more to say, by all means, go ahead. I'm not trying to shut you down or whatever.
Yeah. I guess yeah, maybe this is going back. Maybe I'm wrong about this. This is just like a perception, but it just seemed like you were arguing against against veganism, right? And
I can understand how you got that impression from our discussion. Well, whatever you want to call it, the other night. But like I say, that was me being a bit of an asshole. I don't mind admitting.
okay.
Well,
Yeah.
I said that to you in DM
Okay.
yesterday, didn't I? I think so.
Yeah, yeah, you did. I saw that. Yeah, you're fine. Yeah.
Just like no, I mean, just to be clear though, I don't argue against veganism. I mean, there's no reason for me to. I don't mind if somebody wants to be vegan. It makes no odds to me.
Okay. But I guess the impression that I guess I'm getting is that you're saying that most people shouldn't be vegan, or maybe not that most
No,
people shouldn't be vegan, but that it doesn't make much of a difference.
no, it's not that most people shouldn't be vegan. I just think that there are certain positions which you can hold, and like for me, it's not some like made up hypothetical thing. Like this is my life, this is what I do. So this allows me to not be vegan. And this position that I'm putting forward to you, this hasn't been assailed yet, and I've debated quite a few vegans by now. It's not me ever arguing that the vegan that I'm talking to should abandon their veganism. Like, I don't do that. I have no interest in doing that.
Okay. Well, yeah. So again, that's maybe not exactly what I'm getting at. I think that
Oh, I'm sorry.
most people um, should be vegan, and maybe, or at least we're talking about dietary when I say vegan right now, at least. Most people should stop eating animal products, right? At least that's what I think, because most people are eating animal products from factory farm places, and you agreed with me that factory farming is wrong, right?
Yeah, but
So I guess
that's actually a non sequitur, right? It doesn't get you to where you want to be because it doesn't follow.
okay, yeah.
I mean, most people, yes, under what's actually happening right now, the way the world is, or like at least first world countries or whatever, they are eating meat and animal products from factory farms. Okay, I think that's the case, so we agree that far. But that doesn't lead to veganism. It could never lead to veganism because people can just go out and start doing what I do. Now, I don't know
I
if everybody in the world could do that, but a lot of people could do that, and you'd still end up with a majority eating meat.
so again, that's why I said most, right? That
Yeah,
most, well, not a majority of people wouldn't be eating meat because hunting is not something that everyone can do, right?
yeah. I didn't say everybody. I said a lot of people could go out and do.
Do you think that more than half of people, or I guess maybe it doesn't have to be more than half, maybe, um, do you think that
Go for
most people,
40%, right? Let's say it's 40%, which is significantly less than half. They could probably do that. That's I mean I don't have the figures on the tip of my tongue for this right now, but that's what I figured out last time this came up in a debate. And if let's say it was reduced to 40%, would you still be arguing for veganism? You would, right? Because you won't be happy until it's zero, presumably.
40% of people are doing what?
40%
It's
of
the question.
people can go out and hunt. So
All right.
you still
See,
got almost
I didn't
half,
say
not quite half, but almost half of the
I
world's
didn't say
population.
that I had an issue with hunting,
Well,
right?
right, I know that's why I'm a bit
So
confused why you brought it
so
up.
I wouldn't have an issue with that, but what I'm saying is it really 40%? That's crazy.
No, that's just my
Maybe
estimation. That's based on some number crunching I did about 2 years ago.
that 40% is that
Could
could.
not do, but could.
Hmm. See, you
I
know
mean,
what?
it's
Before
probably
I
possible for you to go out and hunt, right? Would you grant that it's
yeah, I
possible?
mean,
I'm not saying you should,
I don't
but you could.
I don't live in a rural area,
That's
so
fine, but
maybe I could go.
there's pigeons and probably rabbits and stuff like that. You could
I
do
guess
it, yeah.
we have deer, yeah,
Oh, deer as
but I
well.
don't.
There you go. So yeah, you're one of those people.
But I don't think that I can fire a gun anywhere near here.
That's fine. Who said anything about guns?
Well, I don't think that it's ethical to kill an
That
animal
wasn't the
to
question though.
right?
I've got to push you on that. That wasn't the question whether you think it's ethical or not. The question was you have the
Oh, could I?
capacity. Yeah, you could.
Yeah,
Would you do
I
it?
absolutely have the capacity to go
Okay.
out and kill deer with a
Yeah.
knife.
So I mean, you could be one of the 40%, right? And I mean, I think 40% is a low estimate. I actually think the figure is higher. It's just that based on the last number crunching I did, I came up with 40%, and I like to be generous, so I've gone for a lower figure than what I think is actually true.
Okay. Do you think that everyone could hunt if we eliminated predators? I know we sort of touched on this a couple days ago, but do you think that we should kill all the predators and then hunt them ourselves so that we could eat meat and it would be more ethical? Or do you think that's insane?
I think I'd need to know which predators and which prey. To like, I mean, do you mean is it practical, or do you just mean like from a sort of do I think it's
And
okay
ethical
standpoint?
from a what standpoint?
From a do I think it's okay to do that standpoint.
Yeah, do you think it would be ethical if we killed all the predators so that we could hunt the deer ourselves and then we eat the deer, right? As a more ethical way of getting meat than factory farming.
Do you know what? I don't think I've ever considered that one before. Let me just think about it quickly. I don't have a strong position on it. I mean, like, I guess what you'd be doing is sort of. I know vegans hate this term, but you'd be upsetting the food chain in nature. So there may be an
Oh
ethical
yeah.
consideration there.
Well,
Um,
okay.
as for
This
like
is
from a human standpoint, I think I'd need to think about that one more. That's a good question. I'm more than happy to put some thought into it.
okay. I guess. Well, I guess we don't have any disagreement with veganism, so maybe this is what I'm talking about. But do
Well,
you
we
think
we do
that like
have
the food chain?
disagreements. It's just that they're more
What?
like definitional and
Oh,
about what
definitional. Okay.
and about what you think is okay and what I think is okay. So I mean, like for you and I, sorry, were you speaking?
Well,
I didn't mean to cut you off. My mic is a bit weird. Like, go ahead.
um, well, yeah. I guess we just disagree on a definition, but that's just semantics, right? That's not important, right? That's just semantics. No, does it really count as a disagreement if it's just semantics?
I don't think it's just semantics, it's on principle as well. But you and I are agreeing on most stuff, but you and most vegans would disagree on this. So, I mean, I guess when you guys figure out like what veganism is or isn't, then get back to me. I mean, it's like me debating two creationists from different religions or something. Like, I can step out and just leave you all beat the shit out of each other. Like, come back when you figure out which one of you's right or something. Um, so I mean, I don't know what you want to do. Like, do you want to? I don't know if there are going to be any questions because congratulations to both of us. The moderator hasn't had to step in because we've been really civil. But I don't know if there are any questions for either of us. But if there
Yeah,
are you willing to go
yeah,
to Q&A?
yeah, you guys did a really good job. If you have any questions, we're gonna go into VC text, and doesn't look like there are any questions.
Yeah, it's often the
Wait,
case that there aren't, but if there are, they're usually going to be for the vegans. So I won't need to speak much, Chaddy. You'll probably have the mic the most of the time. So
okay, that's fair. Sausage Mayo is DMing me.
Oh Jesus,
yeah, he's DM'd me as well. It's probably because he's server muted,
he's a
but
little bit.
that's
He's a
because he
little
was server
sauce.
muted in the other channel, and then he came up to this channel, so nobody's unmuted him yet. I'm not seeing anything in VC text with regards to questions, and like I
Yeah,
don't want to
there.
take up a huge amount of Chaddy's time because it's been good enough to come over. So
Yeah, I don't think that there are any questions. You guys did a really good job not having to have me do anything, which works for me. So,
well, what about
yeah.
you, Patty? Did you have any questions? Because despite the fact that you're the moderator, I mean it's Q&A now, and there's not too much going on, so you can ask something if you want.
This interest has a question too, by the way.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
okay. Okay. Yeah, what's up, Eden?
I was just wondering if SD has put any more thought into what I think Kaz or another big vegan was talking about ages ago about just neutering all the rabbit population so that they wouldn't be pest.
Oh, that was
And
Perspective Philosophy's question, not Kaz.
okay, and how Chaddy would feel about that as well. So you can explain to him while you answer.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I can just it's from a previous debate that I had with Perspective Philosophy. I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with that guy or not. Do you know him?
Yeah, I've heard of him.
Yeah.
Ask Yourself always says he's dumb.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't want to speculate as to his dumbness or whatever. But I mean, he's got a master's in philosophy. He can't be that stupid, right? But we were talking about the problem that I described to you earlier, which was like rabbits and some other creatures. I always go to rabbits because it's just a convenient example. They're gonna eat all the crops that are being like planted for human consumption. Do you have a different alternative to me shooting them and then eating them afterwards? Because the eating them afterwards isn't usually going to be a problem. I mean, some vegans, but
Yeah.
not many.
So I guess that is a good point. I have heard about that, neutering the animals.
Yeah.
Maybe that would be a better option.
Do you think it's more ethical?
Um,
And also,
I
is
would
it
most
practical?
likely. I actually. Well, okay. I'm a utilitarian, right?
Me too.
So if this rabbit's life is net negative, then it would be better for it to not have been born, right? At least that's my um, normative ethics would say that. So I think that yeah, I think that probably the rabbit's life is net negative. So it's most likely that that neutering it would be better, at least in my opinion.
So it's preferable to you rather than a like completely painless bullet in the head. It's better that we chase or trap the rabbit. I mean, trapping, both of those things are very difficult. But it's better that we do that. We inject it with drugs, chop bits off it, and then throw it back outside. That's your preference?
Well, I guess
Because that's
what's
what it would
important, right?
involve, right?
Well, yeah, I know, but what's important, right, is if we can do something that might be unethical to one rabbit. I'm a utilitarian, right? So if we do something that's unethical to one rabbit in order to save suffering from a whole bunch of rabbits, then that would be an ethical choice,
But that's not
right?
what you'd be doing. You wouldn't be saving suffering because
Well, I
there's no suffering under the model that I offer.
well the rabbit suffers in its life, and
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, by extension, then, like, everybody should be sterilized until there's nobody left. You're at nihilism now.
well, that's not nihilism, that's negative utilitarianism. But what I'm saying as a
It's
utilitarian
actually
is if
nihilism, but
if the rabbit has a negative life or as a whole, right? Then then it would be better for it to not have
what
lived,
what if it doesn't?
right?
Why would
If
you
it doesn't,
assume that?
then I would change my mind, right?
Okay, well,
So
I'm going to argue then that that's not the case because I don't see why it is the case. Rabbits are born, they go out, they eat all the crops, they have a really great time, they get to fuck a whole bunch, and they live underground where most predators can't get to them. Like, what's negative about that?
all right. Well, I don't know anything about rabbits,
Yeah,
so
vegans
you'd
never
have to
do.
educate me, right?
This is the issue. Anyway, okay, I'll stop on that. Are there any more questions? Because I don't want
So
to.
also, I guess the other thing that I wanted to ask, and I don't know anything about this either. Um, do you actually shoot the rabbit in the head every time and kill it?
Yes, yes. I don't take the
Okay.
shot unless it's going to be dead certain.
All right. Well, that's pretty good.
I don't go for ash shots or foot shots or shoot them in the ear or just like pot shots is what they're usually referred to as. I don't go for that. If I can't take the shot for any reason, I don't take it. The rabbit lives another day.
Okay. Then yeah, I don't see anything wrong here. I guess yeah, this is the what I guess finishing statement on this is if the rabbit's life is negative, then it'd be better to have neutered it. But if its life is positive, then it'd be better to shoot it.
Final question. Sorry.
Okay.
So you're utilitarian, right? So
Yeah.
does that reverse engineer from name the trait? So would you say that people that are born of thalidomide, people that are born disabled with hereditary disabilities should just be slaughtered now to save death suffering in the future?
If their life is net negative, I guess yeah, if their life is negative. But I would say that if this disabled person's life isn't negative, then no, right? So
Yeah,
if
but
this
what determines negative for a human?
so for a human, I mean it's hard to say totally, but if it has more suffering than pleasure, then their life is going to be negative. And I guess it has a lot to do. I mean, um, it's hard to say 100% like what the conversion ratio is, or like hard to put into numbers,
Well,
right?
they
If
still
that
have
makes
the
sense.
right to
But
life and the will to live, right? So even though they might have more suffering than pleasure to you and even to themselves in whatever equation, they still want to live.
okay, I don't see that as relevant in my
Well,
moral system.
well
You
then,
can call me a psychopath or whatever, but that's utilitarianism, right? What you want is not relevant. Just because someone wants to live, that's not why it would be wrong to kill them. Because what's wrong is causing suffering, and what's right is causing pleasure. And you can disagree with me, but you're
no,
arguing against
you're
utilitarianism.
perfectly consistent. I like it.
Okay. Let's see.
Are you guys still answering questions?
If someone has more questions.
Oh, okay. So yeah, SC said that he had to go to the bathroom because he has to announce his departure like a kindergartner. But uh,
Number one or number two, Paddy?
he said it was number
Or
one.
socialist.
So
Okay, cool, thanks.
um, VC text. Anybody else got any questions? You can write them in VC text, or and be sure to tag me because I'm kind of an idiot and I don't check things like I'm supposed to.
I'm back. I don't know if any of that was towards me, but I just finished having a piss. It was very satisfying.
Chaddie just agreed that we should kill all the blacks.
Oh,
Well, I didn't make that. I didn't
he
make
can
a
stick
negative or
around, right?
positive thing.
All right.
What?
Well, here's what I'm gonna do. It sounds like this is become quite informal at this point, and so I'm gonna move everybody down to shooting the breeze. That's what I'm gonna do. Or you can move yourself and
Yeah,
stop
no,
being lazy bums.
I'm fine with that. I just want to say thanks to Chaddie for coming over. It was nice. It was good.
He moved to shooting the breeze. He couldn't hear you.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll go down there and tell him myself. Because I have to stop the recording, right?